Hi everyone, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Tawny Para. I'm the Client Services Project Manager here at Earthbound Media Group, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar, Customizing Your Content Management System to Work for Your Higher Education Institution. So before we get started, I'd like to briefly introduce you to who we are and what we do. Earthbound Media Group is an interactive marketing and communications agency that has over a decade of experience in the marketing of higher education and is also well known in the healthcare, highly regulated, and entertainment industries. Our core services touch on all aspects of digital marketing, including branding, communication strategy and consultation, web, video and interactive design and development, search engine optimization, mobile, and social media marketing. So we want to remind everyone really quickly to please feel free to ask questions anytime by typing in the dialog box shown on your screen. We will do our best to answer them as we go along, but we've also set aside time to get to a majority of those questions at the end of our presentation. And we will also be recording this presentation and posting it to all of our social media channels as well as at our Knowledge Center, which you'll find on our website. And the slides will also be available to download via SlideShare, and we'll also be sending a follow-up message or a follow-up email rather with links to all of these resources. EMG is very excited to be co-presenting today with our technology partner Ektron. Ektron has been bringing innovative web technologies to a wide variety of industries since 1998. By combining web content management, marketing optimization, and social software, Ektron provides a single platform that improves operational efficiency, drives revenue growth, and builds customer loyalty to companies worldwide. Your presenters today are Meredith Bunch, EMG's Client Services Director, who works very closely with a number of clients across multiple verticals, including higher education, financial services, and entertainment. And from Ektron, we have Partner Alliance Manager Mike Pascucci, who works closely with all Ektron partners, including EMG, to ensure proper end client satisfaction. So without further delay, I'd like to pass it on to Meredith to get things started.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to be co-presenting with Ektron and to talk to you a little bit today about content management systems and how you can really maximize them to work for your higher education institution. So what we're going to cover today is really an overview of some of the most common challenges facing higher education institutions while managing web content. That can be from trying to get initial buy-in all the way to the actual implementation of the system. We're going to give you some insight into how customizing your CMS can help solve your issues and satisfy your specific needs, because we know that not every institution is the same. A good content management system should really be flexible and should allow you to make the changes and make the customizations that you need to meet your organization's goals. And we're going to use a case study that we did for Hood College using Ektron CMS 400.net, where we did customize the content management system and really worked with them to figure out what their custom needs were and how EMG and Ektron working together can really help them to meet them. And then we're just going to help you understand the capabilities of a content management system and go through what options are available to you. And in order to hit all those topics, first we're going to just give an overview of, what should a higher education website be, what should it do, what message should it convey, and then go through the top 6 implementation challenges that we found in working with our clients in terms of implementing a content management system. So we have reconciling multiple stakeholder agendas, scalability and relevancy, usability on both the front end and the back end, asset management, social media integration and management, customization needs. And then at the end, we're just going to give an overview of some key takeaways and allow you to ask us any questions that you may have. So without further ado, we will get into the meat of the presentation. So what does a good higher education website accomplish? And we wanted to talk about this because before we start talking about the technical specifications of a content management system, we really should figure out what it needs to support. And a higher education website should be the primary and most important recruiting and information tool. What this means is that most people are going to have access to your institution and to your brand through your website. This is where they're going to come to find information. This is where you're going to capture leads. This is where they're really going to have their first entry point to your school. We want the website to clearly showcase your outstanding academic programs and unique selling proposition. We want people to be able to understand why your school, what makes you different from all the other institutions out there. It also should be a delivery mechanism to communicate a well-thought-out visual identity and messaging strategy. I think more and more institutions are finally getting on this train where they understand that the website can't be a standalone marketing piece. It really needs to be integrated into your overall messaging and communications plan. Additionally, it's a gateway to really important functions such as admission, paying tuition and fees, making donations, and accessing faculty. Your website should allow people to take any action that they would need to on behalf of your institution, on behalf of donating, and as a student, you want to clearly funnel them to the actions you want them to take. And last but not least, it's the most visible and influential marketing collateral an institution can create. So again, it's not just a part of the integrated marketing plan. As I said earlier, it really is oftentimes the first and only marketing channel that people use to understand your institution. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to use Hood College and a case study to really demonstrate specifically how we address some of these challenges in recreating our website using Ektron. For those of you that are not familiar with the college, it's a private liberal arts college in Frederick, Maryland. It's very beautiful. And they're really focused on preparing students to meet and surpass their personal and professional goals in the midst of global challenges of the future. So while they're a small school, they think on a global scale, and that's really important for them to be able to convey that. So their old website, which we have a screenshot of, didn't really convey that message. It was static, it was rigid, and it had become outdated. And by outdated, we mean on the front end, it was pretty clear to somebody who was visiting this wasn't really a new dynamic website, and it also means that it was difficult for their staff to update the website. Additionally, it housed way too much content. They had added pages without thought to site architecture. Some pages you could only find if you went directly there. It really was sort of a little bit haphazard as to how they were adding all this content. And that's really because they did not have a solid content management system that allowed them to ensure that all of their content was fully thought out. It also required significant internal resources to update. This was not a website that somebody could go in and quickly make a change. It really required a lot of coordination through their IT department and people who understood coding to make these changes, which was not a very cost-effective method. And lastly, it just did not reflect its commitment to its students in the global community. It wasn't easy for people who came to the website to immediately know what they were supposed to do, what did Hood College want them to do, what did Hood College really represent. So in order to help Hood College overcome that, we kicked out the old and brought in the new, and we did that utilizing Ektron. And to really kick off this process, we did a really in-depth upfront discovery. And what that means is we took the time to sit down with Hood and understand exactly what their business needs were, what their audience needs were, what their technical needs were, and what their fiscal needs were to ensure that we were going to map out a strategy that would help them meet all of those goals. After we did all of those activities, we synthesized all of that information to create a strategic roadmap for the development of a website that was easily navigable, and it was rooted in solid design and usability with a clear and consistent message. So again, this goes back to it's not just about the technical side, it really is about being cohesive in your marketing message and visually representing who you are as an organization through your website. As I mentioned, we developed this within Ektron CMS 400.net, which also allowed for some customization of components to meet Hood's specific needs. So out of the box, it was a great solution, but even further, we were able to tailor a few things to make it exactly what Hood needed to meet its goals. And I will go in depth a little bit more into the specifics of those, but wanted to lay the groundwork for how we're going to use this case study to illustrate some of the points we're going to talk about a little bit later. So moving into the top 6 challenges and solutions. Number 1 is reconciling multiple stakeholder agendas. And what that really means is in order to kick off a website for an institution, there are often a lot of people involved. And multiple web owners often leads to frustration. It's very difficult to get everybody on the same page and to get people moving in the same direction. We know that there are different groups that are particularly involved when it comes to redesigning a website, the IT department, the marketing department, the budget committee, and they don't always see eye to eye. There are different needs and priorities. Some people are very concerned about keeping the budget low, while the marketing department may know that keeping the budget low isn't going to allow them the ability to purchase the content management system that they need. So it's really trying to internally help these departments talk to one another. Key stakeholders don't always feel that they have support in selling through the vision or budget. Again, that goes back to a marketing or an IT person may, be super jazzed on the content management system they want to implement, but it's difficult to be able to sell that through to the organization to justify the cost or to justify the timeline. And that leads into the last point, which is the timeline for a major implementation can be very long. If you have a really large website with lots of content and there are multiple stakeholders that we have to reconcile in the beginning, you're looking at somewhere between a 6-month and a 12-month implementation, and to some people that just seems like that's way too long. So how did we reconcile these stakeholder agendas for Hood? As I mentioned earlier, we engaged in a very deep discovery to ensure that all needs were addressed. We're located in Irvine, California. Hood College is on the other side of the country, but we ensured that we went across the country to do in-person meetings, as we find that that really helps to create a relationship and to read people's body language and just understand each other's needs. So we're a big advocate of in-person meetings. And while we were in Frederick, we also conducted stakeholder interviews, so breaking down all of the different people and the different departments that were going to be involved in this project and understanding exactly what they were looking for. So we could distill those needs and find commonalities across the departments to make sure, again, everybody's moving in the same direction. And both EMG and Ektron work together to understand and blend Hood's marketing needs with its IT needs. So again, this is on the front end a very marketing heavy project, and on the back end it requires a lot of integration with Hood's IT department to ensure that they have the support and the know-how to really implement this and to make this website continue to work for them in the future after implementation. And I think one of the most important key factors of success was throughout the process, EMG provided training, demos, and support for all levels of administration. And this was to ensure that Hood did not feel that they were sort of left out on an island to figure out how to go through this process. We consistently provided training, documentation, and as well as demos as we were going through building the website, making sure that at each step along the process, we were showing them the process. And that prevents, your agency or whoever you hire to implement your content management system from working in a black hole. We want to ensure that there's that consistent communication throughout the process. So some key takeaways from reconciling multiple stakeholder agendas. Number one, it's extremely worth it to invest the time upfront to clearly delineate goals, roles, and responsibilities, process, and requirements. That sounds like a lot, but again, it goes down to taking the time to understand the needs and documenting those needs, sharing them with everybody, and getting everybody's buy-in before starting the bulk of the project. Number two, ensure that all parties review and sign off on the above to avoid confusion down the road. Goes back to getting everybody on the same page, and it prevents 3 months down the road somebody saying, well, that's not what I thought we were doing, and you can always refer back to your requirements and say, well, you saw these requirements and that's what we decided we were going to do, and that just prevents changes of course down the road. Number three, understand the capabilities of your content management system so that you can maximize its value as well as sell it through to your institution. And this is where partnering with your content management system such as Ektron really comes into value, where by understanding the capabilities, you then have the power and the know-how to really sell this tool through to your organization. And last but not least, face-to-face meetings are the best way to set the stage for a successful project. Putting faces to names always helps establish a good relationship, which is key for the long haul of a CMS implementation. You and your agency, you and your content management system are going to be working together for a long time. You want to make sure that you have a relationship and that you know how to communicate to keep this process moving smoothly. Challenge number two, scalability and relevancy. This is a big one. I'm sure many of you have felt that you are constantly doing redesigns of your website. We want to help you avoid that. After being live, a website should really be malleable and able to evolve with the organization. And many websites are not able to do that. They become static and outdated, and that causes multiple problems on not only the institution side, but on the user side. And as higher education institutions constantly have changing information, calendars, course catalogs, faculty, etc., it needs to be able to be easily updated and archived. So it's not always just about being able to push information out. It's about being able to organize that efficiently on the back end. So you don't end up with a site that has tons and tons of pages for people to just have to sort through. You want to be able to organize that and make it easy for people to find what they're looking for. And lastly, having multiple contributors requires workflow for quality control. A lot of organizations hear the word workflow, and that's a little bit scary, but when it's implemented properly, it is a huge time saver. So scalability and relevancy solved. Talking a little bit about how we address this in our work with Hood College. But Ektron really serves as a building block with the ability to grow and change shape. Using widgets and their page builder, which I think Mike will talk about in a minute, Ektron really provides that foundation that's not going to get you stuck in one place. It's a foundation that's going to allow you to continue to build your website, to evolve, and to constantly change. Ektron eSync automates the push from development environments to production. Again, this is just about making it as simple as possible to make those changes. eSync automatically takes the changes that you make in your development environment to the live production environment. Ektron's backend for the users who are putting in information has a very clean folder structure that also easily allows for duplication. We found this particularly helpful with Hood's course catalog, where they have the current course catalog for the year, which is live, but while that's live, they also need to start preparing the course catalog for the next year. So they simply duplicate that course catalog and can work on that and change it in the back end without having to push it live until they're ready to do so. It also leveraged Hood's .NET experience, which reduced ramp-up time. So the IT department and the programmers that Hood does have on campus already had .NET experience, which helped them to really understand the fundamentals of Ektron and to allow them to make changes on their side. And additionally, a pre-designed workflow enables Hood to control published content. So working within the framework that Ektron provides, as well as EMG working with Hood to understand who are the content owners, helping them to draw out that workflow so that there's really a content owner, their authors, their administrators, and understanding who has the ability to do what. So, Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about scalability and relevancy?
Sure. So thanks a lot, Meredith. Over the past 4 years, Ektron has really come along with implementing new features and functionality to stay ahead of the market and to address really both the needs of the marketing teams as well as the developers. Starting back with version 7.0 in the 2007-2008 timeframe, implementing and including new community features and functionalities like blogs and forums, polls and surveys, moving to 7.5, integrating those social media capabilities, groups, platforms, and then getting into 7.6, as Meredith addressed on an earlier slide, talking about eSync capabilities and page builder functionalities where you can build pages on the fly. And most recently, improving our mobile capabilities in version 8.0. This gives you the span of really a 4-year life cycle with Ektron. So we don't really like to come up with new versions too many times during the year. We like to come up with one larger change during the year, and then what we do is we have smaller releases during the year as well. So it's, again, having that one bigger release per the year, and then a few minor patches throughout the rest of the year, looking at where the market's taking us and improving the feature set that way, looking at the social media outlets that we manage on a daily basis and gathering that user feedback and member feedback from those outlets and incorporating that feedback into what we're doing and what improvements we're making to the solution. Moving into 8.5, which is coming out in the July timeframe, mid-July to late July. We're talking about improvements to the framework API for the developers out there, as well as the integration of some flex search capabilities. And we're talking about real functionality that really helps both developers and marketing, the marketing team, leverage Ektron for their website success. So again, it's a matter of looking where the market is taking us, but also making sure that we're staying ahead of the curve, being visionaries within the platform, within the CMS arena.
Exactly, and I think that's really where having the partnership between an agency and the content management system ensures that our clients are kept abreast of what's coming down the road and helping them to transition and take advantage of the new features as they become available. So some key takeaways from this section. Number one is that a good CMS eliminates the need for constant redesigns. The investment is part of a strategy that's going to save you money in the long term. I know sometimes the price tag of a content management system can seem hefty, but it's really designed to prevent you from having to consistently drop in money to have redesigns every year or two, because that's simply not an efficient way to work. Number 2, look for a content management system that plays to your IT department's strengths and ask for their input. So this again goes even back to the reconciling the stakeholder agendas, which making sure that your IT department and your marketing department are on the same page. And IT is going to really be your friend in this situation. You want to get their buy-in, and if you know that your programmers are particularly efficient with .NET, then a system like Ektron is going to be great for your organization. Number 3, designate the gatekeeper or gatekeepers of your website, then work backwards to establish a workflow. Really determine who's going to be responsible for pushing content live, and then really try and keep it to that person or those people that are allowed to push content live. You can have lots of other contributors that are making changes, but you do want to have that last level of quality control. And number 4 is your CMS is only as powerful as you configure it and as effective as how you organize it. Keep your folder structures clean and intuitive. Again, this is really, you need to understand how your content management system works so that you can maximize it and really keep it clean on your back end, because even if a content management system is amazing, if you have people who are not paying attention to some of the rules and regulations and requirements that we establish up front, such as properly tagging images and labeling the metadata and things like that, you're going to end up with a website that's a mess, no matter how great the content management system is. It does require some personal attention. Challenge number 3, front-end and back-end usability. And I wanted to break this up into front-end usability first and then talk about back-end usability in a moment. The little graphic down there, experience starts with content, the foundation of web engagement. This really speaks to the fact that at the end of the day, your website is for your user. It's for your organization to meet the needs, but you're only going to meet those needs if you actually get the user to care about your organization and to engage within your website. So naturally, the user experience needs to be intuitive. That means you want people, when they get to your website, to understand what you want them to do and who you are. There's a lot of content and a lot of actions that a higher education website must provide access. So the question is, how do you present what is important on the homepage? I know that's always a big conversation. What gets involved on the homepage? What gets pushed back? Because again, all these stakeholders want to make sure that they have great inventory on the homepage, and you can't meet everyone's needs, so you have to take the time and figure out a structure and a hierarchy of what's going to be on the homepage, and then how you're going to funnel people beyond the homepage to the actions you want them to take. Balancing information and images can be challenging. You don't want to waste real estate. We're all a big fan of imagery and banners, but if you have one big static banner that's one image, you're not maximizing the space that you have on your homepage that people are going to see when they first come to your website. You have to find a balance between text and imagery. And then again, the desired actions. How do you prioritize? Taking the time to understand what your structure is and what are your top priorities that you want people to pay attention to. So in terms of front-end usability for Hood College, one of the biggest things that we did was to develop what we call start pages, where we funneled each audience to relevant information. Working with Hood, we identified prospective students, current students, faculty and staff, parents and family, and alumni and friends as the biggest audience targets that we wanted to make sure the website addressed. So what we did is, normally when you get to the home page, these little tabs that say prospective students, current students, etc., those are minimized, and when you click on them, it pushes down and then it provides links to every single action that that audience might want to take on the website. So again, you're not junking up the home page by putting that information on the home page always. You're telling somebody that once you know who they are, they recognize what audience demographic they fall into, they can click and find out exactly what you want them to take and lead them to the actions that they want to take on your website. Another way to address front-end usability is to have clear naming conventions, which allows for intuitive navigation. You want to keep it simple. About Hood, that's pretty straightforward. It may seem simple, but these are really important things that can really improve the front-end usability. About Hood, somebody understands this is where I'm going to go to find out more information about Hood. Academics, this is where I'm going to go to find out about major programs, undergraduate and graduate, so on and so forth. Going back to that comment about the banners, imagery is really important. It is partially how you're going to get across your brand and get across your differentiation. So instead of just using a static banner, we wanted to create a rotating banner that rotates on its own, but is also user controlled. So if you see one of the images before that you want to go back to, you just roll your mouse over it and you'll get taken back to that image. And then lastly, the tab calendar and news widget keeps all audiences up to date. So we have the upcoming events calendar, the college calendar, and the news that people can click between those tabs and find out the information that they're looking, and again, keeping the information relevant to what people are looking for. So now moving on to back-end usability, I think a lot of people get scared by content management systems, and this goes not only to the IT department but to everybody who's going to be responsible for creating content within the system. A lot of times it's very overwhelming, and people are intimidated by the idea of having to go into a content management system. What does this really mean? How am I going to do this? And as a result of that, some IT professionals have kept a tight rein over editing rights for fear of one small error taking the site down. I know that may sound a little doomsday-ish, but it's true. There have been cases where somebody will go into a website that's not configured properly, make what they think is a small change, and do something that completely wreaks havoc across the system. So we want to prevent that. And lastly, it really stinks if you invest all this money into a new content management system and no one wants to adopt it. So you've got this great website and you have all of these resources at your disposal to edit content, and nobody wants to do it because they just say, "Ugh, this is too complicated. I don't understand how I'm going to use this." So for Hood, this really talks about both Ektron's ease of use, as well as Hood helping to sort of guide Hood through the process, as well as EMG helping to guide Hood through the process. So we conducted on-site training for various levels and really take the teach the teacher mentality. We tried to get every single person that we thought could ever be in this content management system and provide them documentation as well as on-site training to show them how to edit content, from the simplest, here's how you put in text, here's how you put in a picture, to the more complicated, here's how you create new folders, here's how you change the navigation. We created a custom how-to guide that was many, 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 many pages long, but was easily referenceable. So once we're not on site, somebody can go quickly into this document, find what they're looking for, and figure out how to do it. And frankly, Ektron is easy. They have a WYSIWYG editor. That's what you see is what you get. So it's literally as simple as typing in a Word document if you want to enter content, which I think is a breath of fresh air for many people. You don't have to know HTML. You don't have to know anything fancy. You just have to know how to type, which I think most people do, even if it's a hunt and peck. And lastly, proper workflow, again, just eliminates the fear of mistakes going live or wreaking havoc. Having this last level of quality control ensures that what gets pushed live is what you actually want to get pushed live.
So Meredith, you covered most of the back end stuff here, so I'll focus on the front end stuff here with the on-Trek side. There are many access points for individuals who are admins to access and modify information from the web pages that they're visiting. One is in the top left corner there. You'll see a couple arrows there. Once you click on those arrows, you'll see a control bar that pops out with access to edit information and to go into the backstage area to add pieces of content. And then you'll also notice an accent point underneath the P in the professional photo retouch DS4. That's an access point where individuals can edit pieces of content. They can edit in context as well, so without even having to leave the page, they can go and view the page activity or view any reports, hooking into Google Analytics or Omniture, whoever you may use for your analytics provider. So we're really talking about some ease of use and access to modify any piece of content on the fly within these web pages. You also have, within the page builder functionality, you have drag and drop zones where you can drag and drop widgets into specific drop zones where you can do some A/B testing, some multivariate testing. You can also target content based on individuals, who they are, so whether they're alumni, whether they're current students, or whether they're prospective students coming in from high school. You can target pieces of content based on what you know about those specific individuals. So it's really important, as you can imagine, for colleges out there to target specific piece of content based on the individual and what you know about those individuals, providing that pervasive web experience. And the more that you can target those pieces of content to those individuals, the more that you can provide them with a more personalized experience on a website, which will in turn increase conversion, whether it's getting alumni to donate money, whether it's increasing your enrollment rates, whatever your intention may be. It's important to make sure that content is relevant to those individuals.
Yes, and I'm really glad that you touched on the in-context editing because that really is a neat tool that Ektron offers, which is you don't actually have to log into the work area, which is the sort of orange area that you've seen on a few slides. That's the real back end of the system, but you can edit within the page so that you can immediately see how the changes that you're making are going to affect the page that you're working on. I know Hood found that very useful. So some key takeaways from this section. Number one is understand your audience and the segments you need to address and ensure that at least their top level needs are addressed on the home page. Again, this goes or speaks loudly as to how important it is to really take that time up front and understand exactly who your audiences are, identify them, and identify exactly what actions you want them to take. Number two, good navigation and site structure should marry your institution's needs with your users' needs. That may sound simple, but again, if you think about what your business objectives are, they really should fall in line with what your user objectives are. Users want to come to your site and they want to take action as much as you want them to take action. Number three is proper training and documentation help users catch on quickly and feel they have a resource. This goes back to not leaving your client, or speaking from an agency, not leaving our clients out to figure things out on their own, but ensuring that we really are a partner throughout the process. And number four is stakeholders must propagate a CMS culture to empower all levels to contribute. From the top down, if you decide to implement a content management system, you really need to be that content management system's proponent within your organization and help people understand how easy it is to use, why they should use it, and really talk up the points of why it's important so that you can get people to buy in and to contribute and make your content management system be all that it can be. Challenge number four, asset management. Higher education institutions have a lot of assets to manage and to host. This goes from images to documents to video. There's a lot of information that people need to be able to access on your website. And there's also assets on your end that you want to produce and you want people to be able to view, again, to really show them who your institution is and how you differ from other institutions. Assets can easily pile up on the back end, making it hard to find what the back end user is looking for. This speaks again to back-end usability. If you have your people uploading images and not really labeling them correctly, you end up having hundreds of images and still it's impossible to find what you're looking for. Incredibly frustrating. And images are of varying sizes and don't render properly when uploaded. I don't know how many of you have actually tried to upload pictures to a content management system, but sometimes it's very frustrating when you upload something and it's totally stretched or it's only showing the corner or it's just totally misshapen. That's a waste of time and not really something that you should be dealing with when you have a good content management system implemented. So how did we tackle asset management with Hood? We tied Ektron's library to each content section, making it easy to find documents in their proper section. What this means is for academics, academic had its own section of images, its own section of documents. Same thing for human resources, all the way down to each specific folder. We tied and organized the images and assets on the back end to that specific content section on the website. So if somebody was on the website and saw a picture in academics, they would easily be able to go in the back end to find that picture within the academic section and repurpose it somewhere else on the website if they needed to. The templates automatically resize images to the proper width and height. You can also do this just by inserting the image in the WYSIWYG editor. Really easy to upload pictures, really easy to get them the size that you need them. Ektron's templates and the way that we built them make it so that you don't really have to worry about the image size that you're uploading. And the content management system holds myriad file types, video, PDFs, Word documents, PowerPoints, and images, which makes this a house where you can upload anything that you need. You don't have to have a separate video channel. You can really house everything within your content management system.
Well, you stole most of my thunder with that one, but basically, as Meredith mentioned, it's really easy to drag and drop files into an interface, and you can control what kind of documentation you want to allow your admins to upload within the work area, whether it's just PDFs, whether it's PDFs in Word or Excel. Whatever the different files and assets you want them to drag and drop in or upload the files, you can allow them to do that. We also have version control within the backstage as well. We also have the tools internally within the work area so that they can leverage URL aliasing and add metadata and categorization for SEO purposes. You have version controlling and comparing the different versions. If it's a specific document that you want to compare those different versions. You had mentioned video as well. We do partner with Brightcove on the video component. So if you have a Brightcove account, you can automatically log into your account and drag and drop any of the videos within the page builder functionality onto your web page. So we do have a lot of integrations like that with third-party partners where we do provide that capability. So again, it's there for our clients to leverage, and within the work area, it's really easy to find what you need to find, edit what you need to find, and make sure you're categorizing that effectively as well.
Great. Key takeaways in terms of asset management. Before beginning, do an inventory of your assets to understand your volume. CMS vendors offer different levels of asset management solutions to meet your needs. So there are some clients and institutions that have thousands and thousands and thousands of images, and asset management is very important to them. So they may want to purchase a higher level of asset management from your content management system. However, generally out of the box, most content management systems should be able to meet your needs in terms of asset management, but still good to understand what you're working with before you start, as that's also going to be key when you think about migrating content from your old website to your new website. Number 2 is keep your assets organized. As I mentioned earlier, even a great asset management system is only as good as your labeling/organization. Make sure that when you upload a document, it's labeled intuitively. People can easily understand what that document is when they're looking at it on the back end. And number 3, migrating content from your old system to a new system gives you a chance to do some spring cleaning. There are probably images and documents you have on your website that are outdated, that you don't use, that you don't link to. Get rid of them. Start fresh. This gives you an opportunity to do so. Challenge number 5 is social media integration and management. Social media is constantly evolving. How do you stay on top of it? This is a big question that all clients, all brands, all organizations are dealing with. You think you figure something out, and then the next day it changes. So how do you stay on top of it? Some stakeholders don't understand social media's place in academia. You're in higher education institution. Really, what role does social media play? How much of an importance should you put on it? And it's cumbersome to update content across multiple channels. I think this is frustrating for a lot of organizations who want to be publishing content to their Facebook, to their Twitter, and also on their website, but find that it's cumbersome and time-consuming to really put quality content across all of those channels. So how can you address that with a content management system? For Hood, in terms of sharing, we made sure that all the content and pages are shareable to multiple social networking sites. So this makes it so that if somebody sees something on their page and they want to share it, it's really easy for them to do that. We also have the news and events create content that can be broadcast to the college's Facebook and Twitter pages. So you see in their feed, Hood is pulling information from their website and sharing it on their Facebook. And this, again, is to limit the amount of time that's needed to duplicate content. If you have something on your website that you think should be shared across Facebook, you can do that without having to repurpose that content.
And moving on to an interface here, what you see here is on the left-hand side, you do have that social navigation bar that was shown on the last page in a kind of different format, but you can format that how you like. So again, broadcasting and leveraging the people who are visiting your website to share that specific piece of content with people who are in their network. And then moving to the left, you have a profile page, and we have all the different features and functionalities as I mentioned about in one of the initial slides, that you need to build an online community, that you need to have around social media. So we have the groups capability, we have blogging, we have the ability to share documentation and have that version control. We have the ability to mark favorites or share those bookmarks with individuals. Also the ability to upload photos. So you can create or recreate kind of a Facebook-like online community within your college, and we all know how important social media is nowadays. So if you want to do that, if you want to retain students once they get from a student to alumni, have them profile and retain all the information from them, you can have them create this type of profile system. You can add whatever feature and functionality that you'd like, or you can limit the feature and functionality that you're launching within your online community. So it's everything you get everything out of the box, but you can again leverage what you would like to leverage. And then moving down, as Meredith mentioned earlier, it's a matter of now how do I manage the content and broadcast that to external resources or external sites like Facebook, like Twitter. It's providing that capabilities within the work area so that if if you're updating a piece of information on your website, if you're putting a press release out there, you can automatically broadcast that to Twitter, broadcast that to Facebook, and you can customize exactly what you're saying among those avenues in order to make sure that the communication to Twitter and to Facebook is exactly the type of communication that you want to put outwardly. So again, it's a matter of making that really easy to do rather than having to go here, go there, go everywhere, and log in and copy and paste this piece of content. It's just a matter of pressing one button and customizing the content and having that broadcast automatically.
Great. So key takeaways regarding social media integration. A good content management system is going to help you grow awareness for your institution by making syndication of content easy. You want to be able to publish in one place and then be able to syndicate that across multiple channels. A good content management system is really going to enable you to do that. 2, social media integration can be tailored to meet your needs. It can be scaled up or scaled down depending on what your specific needs are. This means if you are very active on social media pages, Twitter and Facebook, your content management system is going to help you. If you're not that active, your content management system isn't going to hurt you, and it may in fact help you to really be able to create the content and to push it live across the channels that maybe you were hoping to have more content for. Number 3, that being said, social media is important. So if you are doing a little bit, you probably should be doing a little bit more, and a content management system can be maximizing it seamless. Number 4, designate content owners for all of your own channels, and they should be in lockstep with your web editors, or they should be the same people. And this goes back to really helping to activate number 1, which means that your people need to be talking to one another about what content's being pushed on what channel to be able to maximize your resources and understand what types of content should be put on what channels. And just to explain the term own channels, those are really the web properties that you own, your website, your Facebook page, your Twitter page, whatever other websites you have a presence on, those are your own channels. You own them, you're not paying anything for them, but still they are a way to broadcast your message across the web. And the last challenge is customization needs. With all the options that a CMS offers, there still may be additional needs. And the content management system you're looking at, maybe it meets 80% of your criteria and you're wondering, is that enough? As I mentioned before, there's a lot that your content management system is going to be able to do out of the box. That's really the value of a content management system and having a partner, and what you're spending your money for is that you want to make it, you want your content management system to make it as easy as possible for your website to meet all of your needs and your user needs. And another challenge is that your in-house team doesn't have the development skills to build on top of a platform. So hopefully your IT department is going to include at least one person who has the know-how to make changes to the website, to make changes to the back end, to make some fundamental changes. But if you don't, what do? Are you stuck? So for Hood, we customized a few components. The number 1 thing we customized was the calendar, which we customized to match Hood's requirements. They really wanted to make sure that there were separate calendars and people would be able to view events depending on their needs. So an academic calendar, campus events, athletics, or you would be able to view all. This really tied into the fundamental capability of calendars that Ektron provides, but customizing it just that extra bit more to really make sure that it matched Hood's needs. As I mentioned earlier, the homepage banner was custom created and templatized to increase the ease of updating. So updating that banner is just as easy as updating content on a page. You upload an image, you upload the title, add a click-through link, and you're good to go. And then we strategized and implemented a more user-friendly application with Ektron. The application is really the bread and butter of your institution. You need to enroll students in order to keep your organization moving forward. So you want people to be able to get to that application quickly, have it look good, and have it easy for them to fill it out. So we helped them to map out a better application process that include images, made it very clear whether you should click on the first image if you are a first-year student, a transfer student on the second image, so on and so forth, and then taking you to another page that start a new application or continue a saved application. So we're streamlining the process, but also pulling in imagery to continue to keep Hood's brand throughout the process, so students aren't automatically hit with a very dry application process that looks like they've been taken to another site. I'm sure many of you have your applications hosted elsewhere, and it's a lot of information, and sometimes people get there and they don't come back. So we want to keep a friendly face associated with that application process.
And I'm not going to reiterate everything that's said on this slide here, as you can go to our case studies, customer/case studies section of the website, and the links to the case studies are here. But really, this goes to show the depth and breadth of the solution with just a couple of EDU case studies here. Within Rice specifically, they have a lot of different websites that are powered by Ektron, and each one does need to be customized, and they do need to target specific audiences for those individual websites. So you can imagine the customization that's going on there, as well as they have the ability to create websites on the fly without development resources, so leveraging the page builder functionality in order to easily build a website, create that website, and get it going to target specific members of that audience, and to get people to visit that website immediately. And then within the Morehead State University case study was really about making sure that the content there was being targeted to specific segments, as we already mentioned. Internally, integrating with SharePoint and other ERP systems, we do that as well. And then, again, getting to the aspect of really moving where the market is going and trying to stay ahead of the curve. Having that mobile technology and feature functionality and solution set build within the solution, so you don't have to go elsewhere to create a mobile-capable site. You can think about it initially as how do we create this mobile-capable site and have the access dependent on a Droid, dependent on an iPad, dependent on an iPhone, whatever it may be, and having the ability to customize or tailor the individual the experience or what those individuals see and how they see it, so you can make sure that the user experience is acceptable to those individuals throughout the different devices that are being leveraged.
Great. Thanks, Mike. So some key takeaways from this section. Number one, to answer the initial question I posed at the beginning of this section, a content management system that meets 80% of your needs out of the box is a good fit. 80% is a pretty high number. What that last 20% is, you will most likely be able to customize either by working with an agency, working with your IT department, or working with Ektron to make sure that that content management system can fit that remaining 20% of your needs. Number two, talk about your additional needs with your content management system vendor or agency to see if the customization is possible. This goes back to establishing good communication at the beginning of a project, really understanding and setting everybody's expectations so that there are no surprises down the road where you say, I thought we could do this, and then you find out that you can't. You're going to know what you can and what you can't do before you begin the process, which is going to save a lot of headaches down the road. Number three, don't be afraid to invest time or money into customization. Again, this is going to save you money in the long term. If you go back and you're scared by it, oh, it's only 80%, we still need to customize 20%, and that's going to cost a little bit of extra money, we want you to not be afraid to do that, because doing that now is going to prevent you from needing to do it down the road. And number four, have an in-house resource who knows the content management system language to increase efficiency. This really is valuable. It's not a necessity, but it is going to help you maximize your content management system and be able to make you self-sufficient and not always have to rely on an agency or your CMS vendor in order to make the changes that you need. So that wraps up going through the 6 challenges and their solutions, and we're just going to do a quick wrap-up and then open it up to questions. Key takeaways from this entire presentation. So what does this all mean? Number one is don't be intimidated by a content management system. Utilize the tools available, including EMG and Ektron, to really ask questions and to evaluate what CMS is best for your institution. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is stupid. No question is too simple. We are here to ensure that you understand what you're getting, what the process is, and to really guide you through what this looks like for your institution. Number two, a good CMS is flexible. If a feature you're looking for isn't available out of the box, it doesn't mean it can't be created. So we want the content management system to mostly fit what you need, but if it doesn't, don't turn the cheek. We can help you make it work for you. Number three, think about your CMS as part of your integrated marketing plan. It can tie into your social media, your CRM, and other communication tools. As we get into advanced implementations, we really do want the system to speak to other tools that you're utilizing to talk to your audiences, whether that's your CRM or your social media. Your website is not a standalone piece. It really should be very well thought out and integrated into your overall marketing and communications plan. And number four, last but not least, the right CMS for your institution is going to increase efficiency, relevancy, scalability, and an improved user experience on both the front end and the back end. These are really the the fundamentals of what a good content management system should provide you. It is a little bit scary at the beginning, we understand that, but at the end of the day, the content management system is going to make your life way easier, not more difficult. And really talking about how working with an agency can help you work through this process is that we're a strategic partnership. When you select an agency with an understanding of your CMS and an understanding of your organization, we can really help you identify and align your strategic goals, which again is going to ensure that your overall marketing and branding strategy is not lost in your website. We look at content management system implementations not only as a technical process, but as a branding process. And an agency can really help you marry those two and ensure that across all channels and across all of your needs, you have an agency that's looking out for your best interests and making sure that your message is consistent throughout your website. An agency can also improve your team's efficiency. We can provide additional expertise, research, and support, which allows your in-house team to focus on executing other parts of your marketing plan. We found this particularly helpful with Hood, where we could free up their resources to do other things that they had wanted to do for years that they weren't able to because they constantly had to take requests from people to update pages, and that really wasn't a good use of their time. The reason that you have your internal resources is that they're valuable and they help support your marketing communications, and we want them to be able to do that and not be bogged down in updating pages of your website. And we can really help you understand what you need in a CMS. Do you need to redesign your website but you aren't sure where to start? Do you need help integrating your website with other marketing initiatives? These questions are what we can help you answer. And even if you're not ready to pull the trigger or this isn't on your immediate docket, don't be afraid to reach out to us and to ask questions. We definitely want to help you figure out where to start. We are here to help. And specifically with Hood, even after the implementation of the website, we've been a partner with them. They come to us for help. We make recommendations to them and to what they can be doing better with their content management system. It really is a partnership, and that's what we like to do with all of our clients, is to not think of it as a one-off project, but to think of it as a relationship that's going to evolve as your website needs to evolve. So at this point, we're going to open it up to questions. And we have some questions that have come in throughout the presentation, and Mike and I will field them. The first question that came through was, what do you propose are some key steps that you should take to assure optimal adoption by the users? Is it on-site training? Is it documentation, etc.? As I mentioned earlier, I think that it's definitely on-site training. Getting in a room with everybody and providing them with computers and letting them get in the system and play around with it. It's also about providing that documentation. Documentation can't be in place of that on-site training. It's supplemental to that on-site training. So once people have that hands-on experience, they then have a reference document that they can go back to understand if they get caught up or forget a step. We don't want people to have to remember everything. We want to show them and then have them be able to reference a document on the back end. And just overarching, it is helping an organization to understand the content management system, why it's important, and really helping them to be able to speak to their team as to exactly that, why it's important and why it should be adopted. Okay, another question. Do customized components make it more likely that people will update their content? I think that depends. I think generally speaking, yes, but the custom components aren't always related to content, but the idea is that by customizing components, you're making it easier for people on the back end to accomplish what they're looking for. I don't know, Mike, do you have anything to add on that question of do customized components make it more likely that people will update their content?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to customize it to the framework of having it be too difficult to update content and to change and modify things. I think if they're used to doing it one way, you may want to customize it halfway there so they do feel a little bit more comfortable. At the same time, the more customization that you get, the more difficult it may be for future releases when we're talking about upgrades. So you do want to try and keep it as straightforward as possible.
Great, thank you. Another question is, what questions should you be asking IT when determining who should handle the staging and cutover for the project? That is something that we dealt with a lot with Hood, really making sure that EMG, Ektron, and Hood were all working in conjunction. when we're talking to the IT department, and in addition, when you're pulling your IT department in, you need to understand what your server setup is, make sure that Ektron is configured properly on the actual end server that the site is going to live on, making sure that there are people to support that cut live. You never want to push something live on a Friday afternoon when people are going to be out. You ideally want to be able to do that on Monday morning so that you have time to work out any kinks. And again, communicating with Ektron and your agency that this is the go live date. We really need to make sure that people are willing to be there and to provide support if need be. So I think that almost brings us to the end of our webinar. I want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you to Mike Pascucci at Ektron for joining us as well. I'm going to turn it back over to Tani Para to do some quick wrap-up and let you know where you can find the webinars. But thank you again for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to EMG, and we are here to answer and to help you. Thanks.
Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you so much to Meredith and Mike for that presentation. There were actually a few questions that we didn't have the time to get to, and we will address those directly in our follow-up emails. Also, in the follow-up emails, you'll find links to the resources of where you can either download the slides for this presentation or actually get video of the presentation as well. We'd also like to invite you guys to follow us on our social media channels. You can find us on Twitter. We're at EMG the agency, or you can find us on Facebook as well. So thank you everyone once again for joining us. Take care.